Hey wine friends, Stephen here from the Napa Valley Wine Academy content team with an update on what is new this week in membership. Now we are continuing with our Spanish theme, and so we have a heap of new stuff for Spain, but we also have some other cool stuff as well. So let's start with our grape profiles. We did Tempranillo, realistically probably Spain's most important grape, but we also did Albarino, which is really quite important as well. What struck me when we were putting Albarino together is its thick skins. So it famously does have thick skins, but how does that really help the grape? Well, of course, where it's grown is generally where it's pretty wet. So the thick skins help reduce the risk of rot and mildew. So it really helps the grape not have so many issues down the track. So these context statements, I think, are really important when trying to understand a grape. So definitely check these profiles out. I think they'll help you gain a better understanding of the grape in question. Moving on, we have a heap of new maps from Spain. We've got the rest of the regions that we didn't cover last week, as well as a new flat map, which is really good to sort of see outlines and things, but also these fantastical topographical maps as well. The one I wanted to focus on is Castilla y León, because I found it fascinating just looking at the geography and topography here. So you always hear about Castilla y León being on this meseta, but I didn't really quite understand it till I saw this map. So if you look in the south here, around Madrid, it's quite flat, and then we have a mountain range which gets up on top of the meseta. So we are at elevation, and then it's fairly flat across the meseta. Yes, there's a little bit of topography, but realistically, there's no enormous mountain ranges until we get to the very north, where we have a really high range that separates, the meseta, Castilla y León, from what's on the other side, of course, being the Atlantic Ocean. I love over here in the west, you've got Bierzo, and it's mainly, even though it's at elevation, it's really quite flat. But then you have this section which goes up into the mountains, and that's where a lot of the more expensive wines, the big, more robust wines, end up coming from. So gorgeous maps, obviously Castilla y León, but there's Murcia, we've got Rioja, Castilla-La Mancha, the Canary Islands, which is great. I've got to look at this, I love it. I love how much of a desert Morocco and the Western Sahara looks. It looks very, very cool, but it gives you some context of where these islands are actually located. So anyway, could talk about maps all day. Moving on. We have our recording that we did at HQ with Rick Fisher, one of our diploma graduates. Rick, of course, now being with Wine Scholar Guild. Rick's incredibly passionate, and he gave a very passionate performance and presentation on Cava. As you can see here, he's really demonstrating how much he loves Cava, stripping down to show his love. But yeah, it's an almost 2-hour presentation. If you don't know anything about Cava, jump in and you'll learn a lot. And even if you do know about Cava, it's worth checking out because I'm sure you'll learn some new things as well. Moving on now, if we click our big blue button to see what our live stream is this week, you'll see that on Thursday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time, we have a masterclass with Chris Spiegel, MW, and it's all about oxidative winemaking. Now, when I first learned about wine, I learned that oxygen was pretty bad. However, once I really learned about wine, I discovered that oxygen, when done appropriately, can produce the most amazing flavors in wine. In fact, the most memorable wine of my entire diploma was an oxidative white Rioja. It was simply magical. So I really wish I could be at HQ to taste a lot of these wines. The next best thing is to log on and watch it live and ask questions. So hopefully I will see you on Thursday online if you can't make it in person. Moving back again. So we've gone through our maps. We have our grapes. We have our live stream. The last thing I wanted to point out is we have a brand new article from yours truly, another mixology article. This week, it's all about the Boulevardier. Now, if you have been keeping up this week, you do not have anything to buy because you have all the ingredients you will need to create the Boulevardier. It's a fantastic cocktail, particularly if you're into whiskey. It's like a twist on the Negroni, but more about the whiskey. The proportions are a little different, but the beauty of this program and what we put together is that some weeks you don't actually need to buy new ingredients. In fact, there's probably a lot of recipes you can already make. So check that out. Otherwise, have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week with an update on what's new. Cheers.